was I was reading my Bible. I have a Life Application Bible, and I was reading stuff about, we kind of don't give Leah credit. And that's why I brought the black and white in, because there's so many grays in everything. And God just like opened my eyes about Leah and had so much compassion, because we have, in our body, she was considered like a wallflower in a sense, you know? But in our strengths, we all come together at some point. So let me just read this. I'll try not to stutter over my words. It says, Leah and Rachel were sisters. Even though Leah was the firstborn, we almost always hear her mentioned last. We do. We always hear Rachel and Leah. Usually we hear them referred to, like it just said, Rachel and Leah. See how I jumped myself ahead of time? Probably it's because we tend to think of Rachel as being the very virtuous woman. Let's take a look at both sisters, and you judge for yourself if that's true or not. The Bible tells us that Rachel was a very beautiful woman, while Leah was tender-eyed. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and very well-favored. Was Rachel so exceptionally beautiful that no one paid much attention to Leah's beauty? Or was Leah rather homely and plain in her appearance? What is meant by tender-eyed in relation to Leah? Was her eyesight weak? Could Leah have worn glasses in today's times? According to the dictionary, the word tender can mean a number of things: delicate, weak or feeble, compassionate, gentle, or mild. The Bible does not give an explanation. I believe it had nothing to do with her eyesight, but instead with her personality. Leah was very compassionate and had a delicate spirit. She was very easily hurt, but she never let anyone know it. Even though she was the elder of two sisters, Rachel received all the attention. Yet, I do not believe that Leah was a jealous type. Let's look at the two sisters and you'll see what I mean. You can only imagine the beauty of Rachel. The Bible says in Genesis 29:20 that Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had for her. He fell in love with her. Here was a man who was so taken by looks of this girl that he was willing to be a servant to her household for 7 years in order to have her as his wife. This was Jacob's first mistake. He only saw the outside. And that's kind of what grabbed me, like, oh my gosh, you know. The world has a saying, beauty is only skin deep, but the Bible puts it in this way in 1 Samuel 16:7. But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. The Lord seeth not as man sees. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Jacob would have been wise to look at Rachel's heart and not her face. Yet we never read anywhere that she complained. She continued to love her husband despite his feelings toward her. Rachel, on the other hand, starts to show her true nature. She becomes jealous of her sister. This is Rachel's first sin, is jealousy. And it says in Genesis 30, verses 1 and 2, and Rachel, when she saw that she bare Jacob no children, she envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, give me children, or else I'll die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, am I in God's stead? Who hath within from me the fruit of the womb? We already have learned on our study of Sarah how much the reproach to a woman is, well, we kind of jumped on that one. But Rachel did not want to be outdone by her sister, because she was giving birth to all these children. She had, and Rachel hadn't had anything. So because of that, she ends up giving up her handmaiden, which was another no-no. And she conceives a son. And then Rachel says, let's see here, where am I at? And she gave him Bilhah, her handmaiden, as a wife. And Jacob went on unto her, and Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and hath said and also heard my voice, and have given me a son. Therefore I called him his name Dan. As if the first two sins were not enough, she adds a third of selfishness. In Genesis 30, verse 14, as Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field, he brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, that thy son's mandrakes. So she wants to take Reuben's mandrakes that he brought to his mother. Rachel wants only what is best for her. She does not care about anybody else or interest in his or her feelings other than her own sister, her own feelings. In Genesis 30, 15 to 21, it says, and she said unto her, it is a small matter that you have taken my husband, and you would take away my son's mandrakes also. And Rachel said, therefore he shall lie with thee tonight. In other words, she's saying, because you're giving me the mandrakes, I'm going to let you sleep with Jacob, is what she said. So Jacob came home from the field, and Leah, it says, Jacob came home of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, you are to come sleep with me for the night. Rachel has traded my son's mandrakes for you to stay with me. And then it says, he lay with her that night, and God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. And Leah said, God has given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Ishgar. And Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. And Leah said, God has endured me to be with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called him Zebulun. And afterward she bore a daughter called Dinah. Okay, I think my printing skipped the page. Let's see. At the end of their lives, Rachel, I'm going to really shorten this up. Rachel ends up dying in childbirth. She delivers Benjamin, and on the way, she gets buried on the side of the road. That's just what I found very interesting. It says on the way to Ifrath, which is Bethlehem, he put a pillar there and he buried her there. It says, but Leah died, he buried her with his grandparents and his parents. Now this is the one that is, her eyes are weak, or however you want to pronounce it. And it says, at long last, Jacob showered his love for Leah. And it says in Genesis 49, 29 through 31, and he charged them and said unto them, I am to be gathered unto my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave, that is the field of Ephron and the Hittite, in the cave the field of Machpelah, which before Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought the field from Ephron the Hittite for the possession for burial place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there they buried Leah. I think that over the years Jacob came to love Leah. She certainly was more cordial than Rachel. She was more devoted to her husband than her sister. Rachel seemed to only care about herself. Rachel was a jealous, bitter, deceitful, conniving woman all her life. She was a child that never grew up. Leah was hated but loved by her husband anyway. She knew that she could not compete with her sister with her looks. So she just took care of Jacob like a good wife should. She was more mature than her sister. God always blesses someone who is humble and someone who is fruitful. Someone who is faithful. Leah was both. She may not have been very attractive, but her heart was right with God and with her husband. Rachel died young, but Leah lived a long life. God blessed Leah, and this is what got me. God blessed Leah in that 2 of her sons were important in Jewish history. From Levi came the priestly line. We had the priests. And from Judah came Jesus the Messiah. So, I thought that was kind of cool to use the black and the white theme, because you have 2 sisters, and we always seem to always seen as Rachel as, oh my gosh, she's beautiful, you know.
Right.
And kind of put Leah on the back burner, and it kind of, God, like, I loved her, you know, as much as, even though he didn't, God saw Leah's heart, and he saw how much, and he blessed her every time they have a child.
Right.
And so, I thought that was so cool. So that's it.
Oh, that's very good.
So that's the theme why I did black and white, and, you know, the Lord put it kind of together that way, so.